Well, looking back over the past year, one story subject that has been covered numerous times is the Beaumont Independent School District. Dr. Timothy Chargois took over as BISD superintendent in May of 2012 and recently requested to appear here on Live at 5 to answer some of our questions. Dr. Chargois, welcome. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me.
And Dr. Chargois, we've asked our viewers to submit some questions, but before we go to questions from our viewers, first I've got a few questions of my own, if you don't mind.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Well, let me correct that story. Actually, I think I was named
superintendent
a little bit in April, May, but
didn't
formally take over until September of 2012.
Okay, glad to get that straight.
Yeah,
Okay, well, looking back over the time since you became superintendent of BISD, what do you think is the biggest accomplishment for both you and the district, and what one thing makes you the most proud?
Again, I think our children are our biggest ambassadors for the district, and the fact that despite of all the challenges we may have come through or dealing with, our team, our staff has focused on children. So for that, I'm most proud. And I think we were talking a little bit about getting ready for the Christmas break. I'm not rushing it, but I know my team, my staff, our teachers, faculty, they are pretty ready to have a good break.
Next question. There are a number of course, controversial stories involving BISD in the past year. Does the repeated inclusion of the district in so many different stories of this type concern you?
Of course it does, but what we need to make sure when we share stories of information, that in some cases the story is not necessarily about BISD, it's about people who work for BISD, or it's about people who are served in BISD. But I think at the core of Beaumont ISD, our Board of Trustees, our staff, our new board president, Ms. Gwen Ambries, I think what we're trying to share with people is this district is about students.
Wouldn't it make life easier for BISD to just pursue a totally transparent policy, to have fewer secrets, be more open to your constituents?
Actually, we are. We are very open. However, there are things that we can't talk about. For instance, employees. It's not appropriate for me to discuss personnel issues in the public. And we all work for someone, or at some point may have worked for someone, and your particular issues, although they may be relevant and interesting to people, there are laws that we're required to stand behind. And for instance, I, as the superintendent, our board of trustees, there are laws that govern what we do. And should we break those laws, we're putting the district probably more susceptible to lawsuits and issues. So sure, there's some things that, wow, I'd love to put the camera out there and look at what happened. But of course, we have FERPA, which is the Family Educational Rights to Privacy Act. We have policies that govern how we act or interact with our employees and what we discuss about employees. So sure, there are just some things, although the public has a quest and a desire to know, that we just can't share.
But there are some things that involve taxpayer monies.
Oh, yes.
Even when you're talking FERPA, are those things that you can still talk about?
Well, things that do not involve students directly or involve talking about a personnel matter, we're more than happy to talk about that. We receive request upon request upon request from the public or concerned citizens, what we call freedom of information requests. And even when we give that information out, it's not our job to answer questions related to that. We try to produce the documents that may give the public an insight as to what happened. But again, there are just some things we can't talk about, even though personally, Kelly, I would love to probably say X or Y or Z, but I can't do it. It's probably going to cost us more if I get into that. So for the purpose of letting the community know, we want to be transparent. We want to share with you what's going on in our district, but we want to do that in a way that makes us responsible and accountable to our legal and our laws and policies.
Well, following the FBI investigation, as a member of a news entity in Southeast Texas, personally, I noticed that there seemed to be more of a fortress surrounding BISD. It was more difficult for us as a news entity to, for example, talk to you. We were confronted by BISD police when we tried to talk to you. Is that something that...
I don't think you ever had tried to talk to me and I couldn't.
Well, it wasn't me personally, but our reporters were out there trying to talk to you, and they were greeted by police, as opposed to trying to just talk to you. They were greeted by police. Is that something that we're going to see more of, as opposed to just the transparency? We used to be able to just come and take a camera and talk to you.
Well, here's the thing. When I have made the statement, and the board has made the statement that we don't discuss personnel matters, the FBI is not investigating Beaumont ISD. They're investigating employees who worked or work for Beaumont ISD. And again, we don't talk about employees. So because there's an insatiable desire from the part of the media or a reporter to ask that same question 20 times, I'm going to give the same answer. So we've made that statement. We do not discuss. It's not appropriate for us to discuss personnel issues. But now, we're trying to be as creative as we can on asking that same question 20 times. Eventually we get to the point where there are other things that we deal with, from fiscal responsibilities as to when the FBI came in and we began this investigation, or they began their investigation into those employees. Of course, there are things I can't talk about, and there are things the FBI won't even share with me, and there are things I would love to be able to share with the public, but I can't. So my responsibility to the taxpayer, and more so to our students of whom we've been entrusted to handle and manage, is that we're financially solvent. And so what I've tried to reiterate to the community is the district can continue to operate, our staff will continue to be paid, and children will continue to be educated.
Okay. Now, this question is going to take a little bit of a minute. Now, I know you said that you cannot comment on a personnel issue, but bear with me on this, okay? In earlier conversations, this is in regards to Assistant to the Superintendent, Jesse Haynes, you've responded that you cannot discuss personnel matters. However, I have documents with me, and this is provided by the school's district attorney, Melody Chappelle, regarding that issue. And I should note that these documents, will have them on the screen. They were provided in response to the Freedom of Information request. According to the documents provided, Jesse Haynes is on what's called assault leave, following the school board meeting in August in which Jesse Haynes claimed she was physically assaulted by district trustee Mike Neal and by reporter Jerry Jordan, and was verbally assaulted by Mike Getz. And I read her words on the report filed by Jesse Haynes. Trustee Neal asked why Jordan could not go into the media briefing. As I started to answer him, he said, quote, "Forget you and Melody," and proceeded to assault me. Jordan assaulted me after Neal and Getz verbally encouraged them and bullied me. Dr. Chargois, this request was approved by Human Resources Administrator Sybil Como. In spite of the fact that the entire incident was caught on videotape, no charges have been filed by either Haynes or the district attorney's office. No proof of assault has ever been offered by Ms. Haynes. Isn't this a waste of taxpayer dollars to pay someone their full salary for up to 2 years just because they make a claim like this? Aren't you just opening up the floodgates to any other district employee who wants to make such a claim?
Okay, so your question is about the actual what? What's specifically?
Aren't you opening up the floodgates by accepting this as an assault?
Well, again, it's not my deal to talk about what type of leave an employee may be on. And of course, our policy dictates as to what is defined as assault or how it's actually categorized. And district employee is physically assaulted if the person engaging in the conduct causing injury to the employee, one, could be prosecuted for assault and no one has been prosecuted, or two, could not be prosecuted for assault only because of the person's age or mental capacity, makes the person a non-responsible person for purpose of criminal liability. Okay, does the policy say the person must be prosecuted or could be?
Could be prosecuted for assault.
And again, that's where we would leave that. But as far as it relates to any individual, when you have 3,000 full-time employees, approximately probably 500 with subs and things like that, got approximately 3,500 employees.
But we're talking about $104,000 of taxpayer money a year.
But we believe that the policies are set up to take care of the district and its employees. And of course, everybody's going to have an opinion about it, Kelly. And again, if I would be able to give my opinion publicly, probably many of you would, they may like it or may not like it. But unfortunately, I do not think it's appropriate to talk about specific employees and their leave.
But as according to this, the alleged assault she claims happened, well, it's not even listed as a particular date on the request for assault leave, and your HR, Ms. Como, signed it August 5th.
Now again, I'm sure Ms. Chappelle, our attorneys, and everybody else, all the legal are involved in whatever decisions they need to make in that regard. But as it relates to our employees, I want all of our employees to know it is our responsibility to protect them according to our policies that are established. And
but should a person that files assault leave, must they first use their unused vacation and their sick leave, and they must file a workman's comp claim, and that has not been done as per Ms. Haynes?
Well, I wouldn't discuss as to what has been done or hasn't been done. Again, I wouldn't get into particulars about a particular individual. But I would say this to our community and taxpayers: it's our responsibility to take care of our employees as our employees take care of our children. And each of us need to feel comfortable that if you have a health issue, if there is a physical issue, if there's a mental issue, if there's just whatever going on in your life, there are policies set aside that allow you to have leave. And as long as people follow those processes as they should, then hey, that's their right to do as an employee.
Okay, one more quick question. With the FBI investigation and even the TEA investigation looming and concentrations on those in the administration building, that kids within the district, will they have the chance to get the ultimate education that parents can come to expect with public education?
I believe so. And I think as we deal aggressively with issues that we know to be true and factually, I think our team, our principals for sure, our teachers, have stood in the gap, they've stood steadfast, and they've taken care of our children. There's just been an unfortunate series of incidents as it relates to the reduction in funding across the state over the past biennium and many other things. It's kind of like the movie The Perfect Storm, when things just happen. But I believe in our people. I believe in Beaumont. I believe in Beaumont ISD, and I believe in what we can accomplish together.
All right, Dr. Chargois, as always, we appreciate you stopping by.
Thank you for having me, Kelly, so very much.
And of course, Merry Christmas to you. And that's right. And our entire interview will be online at KFDM.com.